Hey booktube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. I am here to do a little tag. This is the Thoughtful Words tag, which was created by Sandy Says Read. I need to check out that channel. And I was tagged by Berna from Berna's Bookish Adventures. And I know I shouted her out recently, but I just, again, want to say, like, if you haven't checked out Berna's channel, she is a Turkish booktuber, and I just think, yeah, she and I have some different reading tastes, but there is some overlap, and you will see that in my version of this tag. But yeah, I really love her channel, and yeah, I just can't believe more people are watching what she's doing. So, these are a series of questions that involve me pulling a book off a shelf. I want you to know I tried so hard not to show you the same books that I always show. So I really dug deep on this one to try to think of some different books that might be that maybe you haven't seen. And of course there's always new people coming and going as well. So yeah. So this is my attempt. Now I'm gonna botch the first one. I was planning on talking about in a video later this month, so you're just gonna get to see it twice, I guess. The first question is catalyst. The catalyst, or oh, my handwriting is so atrocious. The catalyst or incident that gets the story moving. What's a book with a great hook or memorable beginning? Okay. You guys probably already know. I'm gonna have to say The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. This is one of my all-time favorite books. It is about Vietnam. Some people consider it to be like a series of short stories. I think I feel like it's a novel, but the first chapter was printed, I believe, as a short story, and that's how I experienced it. And then later someone was like, oh no, Kelly, it's not just a short story, there's a whole book. And I just instantly had to get a copy, had to read it. I've probably read this book 3 times, which is a lot for me, but I challenge any of you to go into a bookstore or a library and read just the beginning of this book and not be hooked by it. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So anyway, I love Tim O'Brien. I need to read the rest of his books. Question 2, foundation. A foundation or fundamental book could be a children's story or a YA novel from your past. What's the book that you consider the introduction to your reading life? I've talked in the past on my channel that I grew up around a ton of books in my house, along with frequent visits to school and public libraries. My father was a high school librarian, so spent a lot of time there. I could read whatever I wanted in my parents' house. There was no restricted section. There were no like, these books are beyond you. And sometimes I almost wish that they wouldn't have let me read some of the things I did because I wasn't quite ready for them. And I also think it maybe jilted some of my perceptions about relationships. But anyway, but I went back to just a couple of children's books that I think I was experiencing these for the first time when I was in 1st grade. So the first one is A Bargain for Francis by Russell Hoban, pictures by Lillian Hoban. I love these little skunk books, but this one is my absolute favorite, which is why I have held on to it for so long. It's got these just adorable illustrations in it, and of course my mom had to write my name at the top of it. I don't know why, but anyway, I have really been trying to kind of start to weed down the children's books we own, but My husband's not ready to do that yet. So anyway, these two I'll probably keep for a very, very long time though. And the other one is The Best Loved Doll by Rebecca Caudill. Pictures by Elliot Gilbert. And this is about a little girl who goes to a birthday party and everybody's supposed to bring a doll. And, you know, her doll, there were different dolls that she could have brought. Her doll was a bit ratty and worn, and but yeah, so you can kind of see where the story's going with, as far as the title is concerned. But those were two books I read early on that just yeah, made me want to keep reading. Question number 3, nostalgia. We often enjoy those things that bring back memories. What's a book that inspired you to text an old friend, look up an old TV show online, or write a note to a past teacher? I'm going to sort of turn this on this question on its head and give you a slightly different answer. There's a book that I own in my library that every time I see it, I think of the person that I read it with. And that is Parade's End by Ford Maddox Ford. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll remember when I read this because it's massive, and it took me a really long time. It took me and Allie of Foxed Folios, who used to comment quite a bit, and I don't know if she still watches BookTube or not, but I did recently reach out and send her a note on Voxer. But I mean, I've had some really incredible buddy reading experiences. I don't think I would have gotten a fraction out of this book if I hadn't read it with Allie. So she just really, really helped pull back a lot of layers in this book, and I just don't think I would have even known that the layers were there. And yeah, so I'm forever grateful that I got to read this book with her, and it was a great buddy read. Okay, let's see. Question number 4. Quick. In today's world, we're often in a hurry. What's a short story or novella that made such an impression on you that you can't get it out of your mind? So I have several options here. If you are on BookTube and you have not read 84 Charing Cross Road by Helen Hanff, you're missing out, and you need to go and find a copy of this ASAP. This is a book that my grandmother used to own multiple copies of, and if she met anyone who hadn't read it, she would give it to them, as is true with another book I'm going to show you here in a second. But anyway, this is a series of letters between a woman in New York and booksellers in London, and it would take you an afternoon to read. But it's wonderful. It's just total joy, total joy. The other books I would recommend are mysteries by Josephine Tey. Her most famous one, I think, in my opinion anyway, is The Daughter of Time, which actually, you know, is a very unorthodox mystery. The detective uses the library and gets an assistant because he's in a hospital and he's bored, and someone brings him pictures, and someone brings him a picture of Richard III, and so that starts him on a journey of trying to find out about the real Richard III, and yeah, so it's a fascinating, did he kill the boys in the tower? It's fascinating. It's a fascinating story. I highly recommend this one. Another one of hers that I think most people may not be aware of is To Love and Be Wise. Question number 5, nature. We can be always consumed by technology. What's a book, fiction or nonfiction, that inspired you with its message or characters to go outside? Okay, so a few years ago, I actually can't remember what year it was, Curious Reader, the booktuber Curious Reader, who I'm sure you all know, she did a year, it was called A Curious Adventure, and there were just like different prompts for different times of the year. I think, I can't remember. I don't know if we had to read them in order or if we just had to read them, but I loved them. I loved it. And I actually have, I think I have a Curious Adventure shelf on my Goodreads account, which is down below. So if you want to see what I read for that. But one of the books I did read for that was John McPhee's Rising from the Plains, which John McPhee interviews a geologist and I think almost lifelong resident of Wyoming. And they talk about, yeah, the geology of Wyoming. Wyoming is very mineral rich. Not sure when our elected officials are going to figure out that that is a limited supply and we're not always going to have them. Anyway, but why is that? What happened to cause some of those things? The geologist David Love, and also kind of goes back to the ranch that David Love's family grew up on in Wyoming. I wanted to just get in the car and go to these places that they were talking about. You can see I still have sticky notes in it. Probably should take those out. But it is a book, though, I would say, if you've never been to Wyoming, it might not leave the same impression on you that it did on me. But yeah, I just wanted to go to the places they were talking about, like, right then. I just wanted to get in the car and see these places. And some of them I have seen, you know, some places I have been to. But anyway, so love that book. All right, this next question I have some issues with. So melancholy, having a sense of melancholy is not necessarily a bad thing. It can give one time to relax and reflect. What's a book that broke your heart and made you think deep thoughts? Oh my goodness, trying to go through the shelves. What's a book that broke my heart and gave me deep thoughts? So, all right. So I have to go to a spiritual book for this. This is Secrets in the Dark, A Life and Sermons by Frederick Buechner. Frederick Buechner was a Presbyterian minister, but he was also a novelist, and he wrote books that were finalists for the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, as well as I believe it's the National Book Award. Let me just double check. Yeah, the National Book Award. So he wasn't just, you know, like, he wasn't writing stereotypical Christian fiction. He was writing literary novels. But he was also a preacher, and this is a collection of some of his sermons. I don't know if they're all sermons, because I know he shares some deeply personal things in this book that broke my heart. But yes, so this book broke my heart and made me think deep thoughts. I wanna just suggest an alternative. Like, if you are melancholy and you need something, maybe to pick you up, I would recommend A Girl Named Zippy by Haven Kimmel. I've actually met Haven Kimmel, and she is one of the most extraordinary people I have ever met in my life. I just couldn't even believe the things coming out of her mouth. I was just really astonished. But anyway, so she's extraordinary. And this book is wild and wacky and funny. And I mean, I still remember the ending. I loved this book. It made me laugh so hard. And so if you need something maybe to counter the melancholy, I would recommend A Girl Named Zippy. Okay. Now, it was very hard for me because Berna and I, like I said, when she tagged me, there is like some slight overlap in between the things she read. So I'm gonna give the same answer that Berna did for this next one, which is penultimate, what's your favorite or best second to last book in a trilogy or series? Why was it so good? And I have to, I mean, I'm in the process of reading a variety of series, but I haven't finished them, so I don't know as far as like the second to best last book, but this is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince by J.K. Rowling, which is the 6th book in her 7th book series of Harry Potter. And the last time I reread these, reread all of these books, which would have been before I started my booktube channel. So I realized in reading them, you know, when they're all done and you've had time to process the 7th book, which is just, but I really think J.K. Rowling knew what she was doing for the first 6 books, ending with this one. And I think the 7th book, it just introduces us to so many ideas and things that are not in the first 6 books. I think she didn't quite know what to do about the 7th book, which is why, like, I've had to explain to numerous people what happens in book 7 of Harry Potter. My parents haven't watched all the movies, and I know when they do, they're not gonna get the last couple films, because of course the 7th book they had to divide into 2. But anyway, but this is a great book. It might be my favorite book in the series. It wasn't always, but yeah, I really, really like this book. And yeah, there are things in this book that are mentioned in book 1, which to me is sort of, you know, that whole, like, if there's a gun in act 1, it has to go off in act 3. And I feel like J.K. Rowling, like I said, I feel like she had this kind of plan of where she was going with the books up through this. Question 8. Restorative. We can all use something that brings us back to reading. What's a book that pulled you out of a reading slump or lit a fire in your soul? Questions are so deep, you guys. All right, so this is a book. I've shown it a million times, but I really do think this is a book that can bring someone out of a reading slump, and it doesn't matter what gender or how you identify or whatever. I think a lot of people think this is a book for women, and I think it's a book for everyone, and that's A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. I love this book. Again, I read this book 3-4 times now. I'm not exactly sure, but it's the kind of book I wish I had discovered sooner. I just think this is a wonderful, like, coming of age book. I made a book club that I used to be in. I made them read this, which it was men and women, and the men all fell in love with one character in particular in the book, which was hilarious. But they enjoyed it as well. So I really think A Tree Grows in Brooklyn is a great book for anyone to read. So you should give it a shot if you haven't. Now, if you don't have a channel or if you don't want to do this tag, I would love for you to answer these questions down in the comment section below. What's a book that gets you out of a reading slump? There is a bonus question that's, what's a book that you would give to a dear friend as a birthday present or Christmas present, and why? And I'm not going to answer that because that depends on the person. Any of you out there, like, I need to know, like, what kind of books you like in order to know what to recommend. But I would love to hear your answers to these questions in the comment section down below. As always, if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, you can leave an emoji or give this video a thumbs up. I do want to tag a couple people. I'm going to tag Curious Reader just for the nod to Curious Adventure, which was such a great experience. And then I also want to tag a couple new booktubers that I've been following. Kat at Curious Cat, and her name is Kat. It's not a cat channel, you guys, okay? Just want to make that clear. And she has a goal of getting to 100 subscribers this month. So please check out her channel, and if you like what you see, click subscribe. I want to tag, and I don't remember her first name, I apologize, Thought Culture, and I also want to tag Ellen Made Book Club. So those are just a few channels that I have been watching, and they've had some really fantastic content so far. So again, please share your thoughts with me down below in the comments section, and as always, I look forward to hearing from you. Booktube, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.